Happy Monday, everyone. It's kind of a gloomy day today. I hope everybody's doing well. About 2 weeks ago, I was in meditation and I got a really strong message from Spirit, Higher Self, Oversoul, that I needed to stay off social media, all social media, for 8 days. Significant, the number 8. So I'm like, okay. So, when you get those strong messages, it's kind of important to pay attention to them. So I'm like, okay. So I was like, I get some messages from, and a meme sent to me from Instagram from people, some friends, and it was funny. My daughter kept sending me, and I'm like, Hannah, I have to stay off social media, so I can't keep going on, even though it's really not going on, but it is in a sense, because you're still clicking on the Instagram meme. So it was really interesting, and I've been trying to work through a lot of my issues, things that I've been, in other words, I didn't really realize what these last 2 weeks were going to entail for me. And I came across a lot of situations, issues that I thought I had dealt with that I apparently hadn't. So, mainly, I had a big one happen probably like 2 days later. So it was probably on a Tuesday. I was at work. And one of the clients that comes in, she's really sweet. I've known her. She goes to someone else in the building. So I saw her, and then I've known her for years. And I noticed that her daughter was in the car, and her daughter was very friendly. My brother was killed, which was a direct message and a direct hit towards my father, which is a long story. And he was killed suddenly on his 20th birthday. And her daughter, I'm not going to mention her name, but she was, come to find out, she was what I found out was, and I kind of had an idea that they were kind of like going to get together. So he was on his way home when this happened. He went to a military college. It was a very strict military college, and going into the Air Force. So, and he was following in my father's footsteps, which my father was a very high up corporal, retired in the state police, and also worked for the Kennedys on security and undercover. He made the biggest drug bust on the Cape and the Islands. I live on Cape Cod. This was done in Martha's Vineyard, where there's a lot of deep state. He fought the deep state, basically, which I've never told on video, but here we go. So what happened is that I went out to the car to see her, and she proceeded to tell me, I just said, hello, and she said, yes. She said, she started to tear up, and she said, I said, she goes, I still have Paul, who's my brother, his letters. We wrote back and forth. She was in college at the time, and like I said, he was in a military college. And she said, I still have his letters. And she started to cry. Now, meanwhile, back then, how you deal with grief when you see two parents that are grieving and a father that tries to pull your brother out of a casket because he's so distraught, and it's full of military, full of police, and you try to keep your composure because your parents are suffering. Here I thought I dealt with all this. So I looked at her, and I felt the pain, and I really realized a little bit, but I didn't realize to what extent their closeness, basically. So, I just I don't know, I kind of like froze and it hit me. Like I thought I had dealt with this. So I had a lot of pain coming up and I didn't really know what to say to her. I don't know. I could feel the pain and she's, now she's been married and divorced twice and has children and she's a grandmother. But all those years, we're talking like that happened in 1980. And it's still, I mean, that's amazing to feel love for someone that strongly, and I was really taken back by it. So, I kind of just, talked to her a little bit and, her mother came in the car, so she had to go. So I was like, it's good to see you. But I was like, I got in my car and to go home and I lost it all the way home. But here I thought I dealt with it. And, when you're I had an older brother at the time. He was killed 10 years later. But my older brother was going through a lot of things at the time. Had just gotten out of the Marines. And the Marines really messed him up. So, I had a kind of, I feel like I've always, since I was born, took on the role of taking care of the family or, feeling like I had to have a lot of responsibility. So I did a lot of releasing, which was really good. But it's one of those things that, looking back, I kind of, it was a situation where everybody numbed themselves out. I don't know how many different Valiums were going around that night because he was only 20 years old. And like I said, this happens, it happens daily, and it was a hit and run. And this person finally got caught, but didn't remember at all doing what he did, which is really strange. And you can kind of like figure that part out. And I would say what my take is on it. And it wouldn't make a difference anyway, because I feel like, people that see my videos are supposed to see them. They don't get out. I'm pretty censored. And I kind of know the story behind that. But I went through a lot of anger. And how we deal with anger, I think everybody's different. But I was very angry, and I was angry at God. And, what happened is I just was like, why? I just don't understand it. Why couldn't it have been me instead of him? I mean, he was the sweetest thing. He reminds me a lot of my son. My son is got his characteristics. My son has had contact with him, even as a child. He'd be out playing baseball. This is how I really knew and started my spiritual journey, because I knew this was real. He'd be out playing, baseball. I have to say, his father wasn't very active with him and, with the sports thing. So he was out, and one day I went out, and he was probably, 5 or 6. And I'm like, what are you doing? He says, I'm playing baseball with Paul. And he goes, Uncle Paul. And I was like, oh my God, that's my brother, And you can learn so much through your kids, it's amazing. So with that, it's, I got a sign from my grandmother too from it. But the anger I went through, because 10 years later, my other brother was killed. And he was basically, his situation was totally different, but they never found who did it to him. And so I was very angry. And, you get that survivor guilt, because then I'm the only one left. And I have my parents. My parents are going through grieving, so what do you do? So I go to a bunch of therapy. Therapists didn't know what to do with me. I would, it seemed like the mainstream therapists, it's nice therapy. I'm not knocking it. But for me, they just didn't know what to do, because of everything that came out of my mouth was basically, in my mind, things different. I mean, I've been in the paranormal world, and like I said, I started that journey. So I made, for probably at least 8 years, I kept going and it's good to interview therapists because not everyone is a good fit. But I finally found a woman. After going through a couple of them, I finally found a woman that was extremely. She was psychic. So I worked with her, and and she was able to get into really what the issues were, what was going on. But in that angry stage, I'm like, God, really? Seriously? And my grandmother came through. I heard her voice that night. I was so angry. Sometimes you hear the telephone ring and you think it's a telephone. I pick it up and it was my grandmother. And she had passed on. But my grandmother also knew when she was dying. I know I'm skipping around, but when she was dying, she did say to my mother that she was going to watch over Mark and Paul, which are my two brothers. But she didn't say me. So I heard her voice, which is soothing. And, she always shows up, when I need her. So, but the message that I did get, and I do believe what you would call it, Jesus, God, Spirit, was that I was stronger of the two, that I needed to learn to stand on my own 2 feet. That's why, obviously I was left here. But it still doesn't justify or take away the pain you feel of, or guilt of why, they were taken at a young age. I mean, 20 and then, 30 years old. And they were both done not so nicely. And again, say it's part of my lineage, my dad's, what he was involved with. He was definitely on the good side. He fought a good fight. And they just kept me busy so I wouldn't know what was going on, basically. So the whole thing of it is just when you think you've gone through it all and you've worked it out. And now I know why I had to have that time, because every day there was something else coming up that I needed to look at in order to release it. Because, like I said, I think I've said before, that if it's stored in the body, it's going to cause illness. Plus, you bring it into relationships, and it's not healthy. I didn't have a supportive partner going through all this. All I was told was I was playing victim, when I really don't feel I was playing victim. I was trying to understand what happened. I was trying to understand when we were brought up to not talk about what happened around our house. We didn't talk about the targeting. We didn't talk about, why the dogs died suddenly, why, we got ransacked, or, my father would plant a garden and it would all got ripped up one night. And we always had a dog. We had German Shepherds, we had a Doberman Pinscher. Our Doberman was the sweetest dog. That was the first dog we had. And that's why I still have a dog now. Because they're comforting, they're protectors. They also take on your pain too, which, they're here to help us learn, just like children are too. So, you had to bottle that all in. You couldn't talk about it. But my dad was probably my main supporter as far as getting me to go to counseling. He never did for himself. But he was a little more open than my mother, but I think he felt guilt. It's the guilt that he felt of why things happened and blamed himself. I never blamed him. I didn't quite understand it, but as time went on and years went on, and things that were told to me when my dad did pass, I got bits and pieces, and then as I rummaged through his things, he kind of left hints and notes for me. So I would understand. And so I think the social media thing social media is great. But, I was trying to think if I was on it a lot. I think, you know, sometimes you can, take on different energies as you're scrolling through, or uh, you're not, it's good to go within and get your own thoughts, get your own take on things, because we all have that ability. We all have our ability to go within and get information. But I think it was for me is to, it's distraction too. Going on social media is a lot of distraction. And, then you distract from really going within. And I think it's really important. What I learned is that, going within, looking and facing certain situations, feelings, triggers, and you can get triggered from social media also. And it was good to take a break, and I gave myself even a few more days after that. And actually it was, I feel it was a blessing. I delved deep into my yoga, to doing Kundalini yoga to help raise the energy. And also too, I was brought through, which was pretty cool, a lot of energy integrations, a lot of, I've had, a lot of downloads come through for myself and what I need to do and what I need to embody. So basically it was a great experience. I'm still going to, monitor, as far as my thoughts, my feelings, and pay attention to them. And I think when you're too distracted, too busy, you don't pay attention to really what's going on within inside of you. That's what I've experienced. So this is all my experience. You can take it or leave it, or I hope it helps someone. But I think it's good to go off social media and give yourself a break. Especially with all the AI and everything, it's, I don't know, it can be really, really, keep you stuck in your mind. You really need to drop down into your heart and feel. And for me, I don't think I really felt, looking back. And, when I was 18 going on 19, we were all a year apart. So we were, my brother turned 20, I was turning 19 right before he passed. And, it made me grow up very fast, even though I felt like I've always, I'm an old soul. I came in an old soul. So that was my experience of being, I had other little things too. But basically, if you don't stop, give yourself the time, and you can do the work. But for me, it was getting back to meditation. I had gotten out of it. It's, I have my essential oils I do, and I started plant medicine, which has been extremely helpful. And it's not the hallucinogen plant medicine. It's close, but it's not anything that you would need a shaman to be around, or recreational. But it does help, and it helps you keep you clear, and it will bring up stuff for you. I've gone through with this plant medicine I started. I've gone through some purging, and I'm not going to go into that, but you can tell if you purge. Things that are in your body need to come out, right? So, that also means a lot of, stored energy or stuck emotions. So it's been, every day there was something new. I had to learn, patience. I had to learn a lot. And I had a lot of time to do it in, because I wasn't sitting on my phone or and getting distracted. So it's good to take the time and do that. I guess I just wanted to share that experience, and it was great. And I'm going to be more mindful and really make sure that I keep in check with myself. Because if you don't keep in check with yourself, you're not going to be helped to anyone else. And I'm really enjoying the information I get and the growth I'm going through. And, just listen to those messages you get and pay attention. I was like, whoa, no social media. So I'm like, no social media. And they're like, right, no social media. And I'm like, okay. You don't realize how you can get addicted to it, and how it can take you over, till you get away from it. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's just, I still had stuff sent to me, in messages, and I just was like, sorry, I'm off social media for 8 days. And like I said, it took a couple extra days. So I didn't mean to make this video so long, but there was a lot to share. And, try it sometime. Try taking a break, and you won't regret it if you feel like you have to. I mean, not everybody's stuck to the internet. So anyway, I hope this helps someone, and take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And I hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Alrighty, thank you. Bye.